Chapter 60, Players Always Misunderstand Me. The online buzz around Outlast was still going strong. How long the game's popularity would last mostly depended on how long it could stay hot on streaming platforms. Because if you just relied on the game's scary content alone, expecting Outlast to stay popular for the long haul, that just wasn't realistic. At the same time, some game studios and designers online started talking about developing their own horror games. Clearly, they were trying to ride the wave of the horror craze sparked by Outlast. As for the type of gameplay, no need to guess, it was almost always the same, run-and-hide style with no combat system. Lucas didn't pay much attention to that. After all, Outlast wasn't even part of his original plan. If he hadn't drawn an item that let him convert points, he wouldn't have developed this game at all. Looking at the time, 2 months is really pushing it, Lucas thought as he checked the date. Big games or VR projects were still off the table, just like before. He still didn't have enough funding. Also, with the new year coming up soon, even if he wanted to start a mid-sized project, it would have to wait until after the holidays. During that time, Lucas also planned to hire some people through headhunting, people who could handle areas outside of game development. Other than that, his next focus would be the Nebula Games platform. Function-wise, the Nebula Games store already had most of the key features. The store, library, community, friends list, reviews, even a version of Steam's workshop were all in place. Of course, some UI elements like recommendation systems hadn't been done yet, but that was because the platform only had 3 games so far: Outlast, To the Moon, and Undertale. The platform itself was ready, but the problem was, hardly anyone was using it. So far, only 15,000 copies of games had been sold on Nebula Games. As for daily active users, it hadn't even reached 1,000. Still, despite how bleak it looked, Lucas had high hopes for the platform. "We're not short on money for now, so it's about time to start focusing on the platform," Lucas thought. To quickly build a user base, exclusives were clearly the most effective strategy. Big game publishers, both local and international, often used this approach. They all had some kind of exclusivity deals. But that route definitely didn't suit Nebula Games right now. They had a bit of money, sure, but compared to the big players, it was nothing. If they really wanted to go the exclusives route, they'd need a game strong enough to back it up. And here's the issue: releasing that kind of game now would just hand ideas to other studios. There's no protection for gameplay mechanics, and Lucas still had plenty of multiplayer game ideas based on creative gameplay from his previous life, his trump cards. If he revealed them now, he wouldn't be blowing up the competition, he'd be blowing himself up. Multi-platform, buy-to-play, discounted price, pass-linked, multiplayer. Sitting in front of his computer, Lucas thought it over for a long time, then picked up a pen and wrote down these keywords in his notebook. That was his definition for the next game he'd be making. The multi-platform part was obvious. Nebula Games wasn't in a position to do exclusives. Buy-to-play would pair well with discounts, helping draw more players to actually buy the game on the Nebula Games platform. As for the pass-linked part, it meant that if players bought the game on another platform, they'd still need to register a Nebula Games Pass account to activate it. Sure, this might turn off some players who don't want the hassle. Some platforms even outright ban account linking setups like that. But for early-stage user growth on Nebula Games, it was still worth it. Even if people didn't buy anything, or didn't even download the launcher, as long as they registered a pass, that was a win. The multiplayer aspect would also help make the setup worthwhile, allowing cross-platform play. As for the game itself, it wouldn't be anything too big in scale. It was, after all, more of a test run kind of game. And with Lunar New Year falling a bit late this year, New Year's Eve is on February 11. 2 months is more than enough time to make a small-scale game. So, sitting in front of his computer, Lucas sketched out a general plan for what comes next. He walked out of the office to get some fresh air and to think over what kind of project to take on next. There were still quite a few directions he could go in. It was already the end of the workday, and some employees who hadn't gone home during lunch waved at Lucas when they saw him. Lucas nodded back at each of them. Looking at the size of the office, he started thinking maybe it was time to expand a bit. When there were fewer people, it didn't feel cramped. But now, with the development team and other departments all in the same space, things were starting to feel a bit tight. Each desk was only separated by some partition boards. But just as the idea crossed his mind, before he could think further, he was interrupted by Anna and Rachel coming over. "Boss Lucas, you've been turned into a meme," Rachel said with a grin. No, more like something you said has been turned into a meme," Anna said, holding up her phone. Lucas glanced over and looked a bit speechless. On Anna's phone was a photoshopped screenshot. The image was from Outlast, showing the scissor-wielding doctor mid-sit-up exercise with the protagonist. Next to it were the words, "I am a warrior of love." Anna swiped to the next meme, a screenshot of the chubby security guard pulling off someone's head. The image had a mosaic over it, and the caption read, "I'm a warrior of love too." "This joke's still going around." Lucas looked half amused, half exasperated. "Of course it is. Any Outlast player who doesn't know this meme should be ashamed of all the times they got scared," Rachel said with a chuckle. "Exactly," Anna agreed. "Can't blame us, your explanation back then was just too good," Rachel said, pulling up an old post from Lucas's official account. It already had over 500,000 likes and more than 70,000 comments. "Players always misunderstand me," Lucas said, but he was still smiling, and a thought flashed through his mind. "All right, I've decided. If they're going to call me a warrior of love, I'm going to lean into it. The next game will be a super heartwarming one." Lucas smiled as he spoke. Rachel looked surprised. "Already, we're starting a new project that fast. What kind of game is it?" "A heartwarming game. Boss Lucas, you're not pulling another Outlast kind of twist, are you?" Anna asked, suspicious. "Don't rush me. I'll think on it for a couple of days and let you know once I settle on the idea. It won't be a big project, but it's perfect since this year Valentine's Day and the Spring Festival fall at the same time. I want to give players a game that really fits the mood," Lucas said with a grin. Chapter 61, Overcooked. Unlike movies, which have things like Lunar New Year releases or summer blockbusters, games don't follow the same seasonal patterns. That's mostly because for movies, people have to physically go to a theater. But for games, whether it's a PC title or VR, as long as the player has the device, they're good to go. The only thing to really pay attention to is VR, since the cost is still high. And for good VR experiences, like game pods and such, there still aren't that many personal users. Most are found in experience centers, which are kind of like internet cafes. So in this regard, games are on a different schedule than the film industry. That said, it doesn't mean the game market is less intense. In fact, the competition is still pretty fierce. Plenty of developers and studios still put a lot of focus on this time of year. Aside from teachers or students who haven't entered the workforce yet, for the average gamer, this is the longest holiday break after National Day. Also, during the New Year period, people usually have a little more money in their pockets. Naturally, game studios see this as an opportunity, and the competition gets even hotter. Platform-wide discounts, online multiplayer events, new releases from various devs, even some big VR titles show up. As for Lucas, it was clear that making a large-scale game in just 2 months wasn't realistic. But it's not like they can just sit around doing nothing. Even though Outlast was finished, the team didn't have any new projects lined up. Still, that didn't mean there was no work. Each department was still pretty busy. The platform side, for example, had to follow up on all kinds of things, gather outside information, and collect player feedback. Even though the player base wasn't huge yet, the data they needed was still coming in. Just because Outlast was done didn't mean the work was over. After finishing the game, the team used the experience they gained from developing Outlast, like various action parameters, to tweak and test their official game engine. Compared to the tools from the previous timeline, the official engine now had way better productivity, but it wasn't magic. It's kind of like sculpting with clay. Some people can make something really beautiful, others not so much. So next, Lucas decided to work on a short-term project, partly to help the team reflect and improve, and partly because there just wasn't enough time for something bigger. Plus, judging from some online reviews, it seemed like people had some misunderstandings about him. And since this year's Lunar New Year was happening a bit later than usual, and even overlapped with Valentine's Day, it gave him a perfect opportunity. Looking at the current movie schedules in the entertainment world, there were quite a few romance films lined up. But in gaming, not a single one. So he figured he'd fill in that gap. Why not give couples something special to enjoy during the holidays? A couple game, and at the same time, we can use some player discounts to promote our Nebula Games platform, kill two birds with one stone. After chatting with Anna and Rachel for a while, Lucas leaned back in his chair and stared at the keywords he had written earlier. An idea was starting to form in his head. Luckily, he had just the right game in mind, a game that helps couples get along better, perfect for this short-term project. Who knows, it might even connect with players emotionally. He turned on his computer, created a new folder, then pulled a sketchpad and pencil from his drawer and started a rough drawing. Soon, some simple character designs appeared on the paper. Cartoon-style characters: the Onion King, a little crocodile chef, a dog chef, a bearded chef, and a dog named Kevin with a bell around his neck. After roughly outlining the main characters, Lucas started writing the design concept for the new game. Overcooked was the next casual sim game he planned to develop. For Lucas and the Nebula Games team, developing Overcooked wasn't going to be too difficult. Compared to Outlast, it needed way fewer resources. Of course, those resources still had to be made from scratch. After all, Overcooked had a totally different art style from anything Lucas had made before. It was a cartoon-style game, and it was one of the best-known titles in the co-op genre. It was basically one of the iconic games in that category. Its cute and silly art style gave it wide appeal. Whether people liked it or not, it was hard to actually dislike it. The game also had strong indie roots. It was developed by just 2 people, and right before release, they only had enough money for a lunch. But after launch, it sold nearly 2 million copies in a short time. It even got nominated for Best Multiplayer Game at that year's TGA. That success turned it into a unique game series. In the parallel world, there were other co-op games, but none really stood out much. Now that Lucas had chosen the genre, the next step was deciding which game in the series to do. Overcooked 1 was the first entry, and it was a big hit. It helped set the tone for both the art and the gameplay style. But it did have some flaws: no online play, not enough maps, and some clunky controls. Overcooked 2 was a much more polished game. It fixed many of the earlier problems while keeping the fun and chaotic gameplay. As for Overcooked All You Can Eat, aside from the graphics, there wasn't much of a major upgrade. It just added some helpful tutorials and assist options for beginners. You could say it's more of a compilation, with content from both Part 1 and 2. After thinking it through, Lucas quickly made a decision. He'd mainly use Overcooked 2 as the base, keeping its core gameplay and visual style. He would make some adjustments to the UI and visual effects. At the same time, he'd include some of the better designed maps. As for the story, that part really didn't matter much. After all, the Overcooked series never really focused on story, it's just background fluff. Just like how old Nintendo games used to be, whether it was Mario or Zelda, it was always about saving the princess and beating the big bad guy. For games that aren't story-driven, the levels are the real heart of the experience. But for now, the focus was still on building the overall structure of the game. At the same time, compared to the original Overcooked from his past life, Lucas also planned to introduce some changes in the game's content. It would also serve as a way to test the platform's features. Undertale, Outlast, and To the Moon had all been added to their own Nebula Games platform. But one feature still hadn't been used yet: the platform's workshop. That was mostly because these 3 games weren't really a good fit for it. But Overcooked, on the other hand, was the perfect testing ground. Because it's a level-based game at its core. If they could make good use of the workshop, the content could easily surpass what was done in the previous timeline. Of course, they'd still need to plan things out properly and stay organized. Chapter 62, Some Changes. The overall planning for Overcooked was actually pretty simple. Story wasn't a big deal, just some short cutscenes. Unlike To the Moon or Undertale, this wasn't a story-driven game. What really mattered was the maps and levels. Those were the core of Overcooked. Since the gameplay revolves around chopping ingredients, washing dishes, and cooking, the quality of level design had a direct impact on how fun the game was. There were also lots of different stage environments in the game. Each one had its own theme, with different models, textures, and assets. Another thing that really made Overcooked stand out was its gameplay mechanics. From cutting food to interacting with the environment to washing and cooking. All of these mechanics were tied to values that affected difficulty and gameplay feel. But for Lucas, this part wasn't much of a challenge. Thanks to the system's lottery draws, he had already won quite a few skill books related to game values and balancing. If it were a big, stat-heavy game like a MOBA or an RTS, maybe it would have been tougher. But for Overcooked, it was a piece of cake. Not to mention, he also had memory capsules to help. Once the gameplay, stats, and levels were in place, the rest, like music and UI, wasn't as important for this kind of game. Besides that, Lucas's changes to Overcooked mainly focused on expanding its content. In his past life, Overcooked basically didn't have any mods. That's because the workload for players to make levels was just too much. And of course, the developers wouldn't release any of their resources either. After all, the core of Overcooked was the way the gameplay and levels worked together. If players could make their own content, how would the devs sell map DLCs later? To be fair, it's not like the original dev team ever considered that possibility in the first place. But for Lucas, Overcooked would serve as a starting point for that. After all, unlike the previous world, most games in this parallel world are made using editor-based engines. As for mods, while they were super common in the previous world, and many games were even built around modding, that's not really the case here. In this world, it's rare for game studios to allow modding. Part of it is because it's a hassle, and part of it is because opening up the system makes it easy for core game data to leak. And if you want to support mods, you also have to structure the game's assets and design with that in mind. That just makes most designers not even want to bother. It's a pain, and there's no direct profit from it either. But Lucas clearly understood how important mods can be for a game. Not just for indie games, even big titles can benefit a lot from mod support. Overcooked was meant to be more of an experimental project. For this game, Lucas wanted to make modding easier for players by designing it from the ground up with mod support in mind, instead of doing what most games do, just opening up a modding interface. If you do it that way, players still have to deal with a big learning curve, which makes it harder for mods to catch on. To use mods through the workshop, players will have to go through the Nebula Games platform, so we'll need to set up a separate server for data backup. Also, the art assets will need to be changed. Lucas typed away on the keyboard as he wrote up the game's concept draft. For this part, he planned to build the game with a modular, block-based structure, something like Minecraft. In-game equipment and props like conveyor belts, sinks, cabinets, fire extinguishers, serving areas, and stoves, and even larger items like hot air balloons would all be movable and separate. Meanwhile, the background settings would be fixed, like glaciers, regular restaurants, or even underground worlds. Sitting in front of his computer, Lucas slowly polished the details of Overcooked. After a day and a half of work, he wrapped up the concept draft for the game and was ready to call a meeting about the new project. So, in a small meeting room, a group of people were chatting in low voices. Just then, the door opened and Lucas walked in. When they saw him, everyone stood up from their seats. "Have a seat, I'll give everyone a quick overview of our development plan," Lucas said. Hearing that, everyone looked excited. They had already caught wind that a new project was coming, and they were all itching to get started. Thanks to the success of Outlast, everyone had gotten a huge bonus. After all, projects mean money. As long as they succeed, that is. And everyone there had a lot of respect for Lucas's skills. They couldn't really argue with his track record. He'd been impressing people since his first few games. This time, unlike Outlast, we're going back to making a smaller scale game, with the goal of releasing it around Lunar New Year. But don't worry, this game will be a lot lighter than Outlast, Lucas said with a smile as he looked at everyone's expressions. But then his face turned a bit more serious. Even though the project is small, it's really important for the company's future. I'm hoping that with this game, we can use the Lunar New Year plus Valentine event to start slowly building up our own platform, Lucas said earnestly. Everyone in the room had already signed NDAs and non-compete agreements, so Lucas wasn't too worried about leaks. Nebula Games was on the rise, and Lucas had already hinted that the company would be expanding soon, even promising some big things. And honestly, even if this stuff did get leaked, it wouldn't be the end of the world. Because let's face it, what game company doesn't want to build its own platform? Lucas knew that perfectly well. But everyone in the room stayed serious, though you could see the excitement in their eyes. They were all still young. No one wanted to rot away at some dead-end company with no ambition. Of course, that only works if the company actually has the skills to back it up. Otherwise, it's just empty talk and false hope. Next, this is the game we're planning to develop. Here's the concept draft, take a look. Once you're done, feel free to share any ideas or suggestions, including thoughts on marketing. Lucas turned on the projector. The screen showed the concept art for Overcooked, Chapter 63, Easygoing Game Development. The art style, the character design. The core gameplay and how the numbers play with player psychology. The layout of the different levels, plus the idea of expanding it with a creative workshop mode. It also included the experimental angle of how this game would be used to promote the platform. Lucas didn't go into every detail, he just gave an overview. After all, it was just a concept draft. The finer points would be worked out later in the actual development. And since everyone present, from music and level design to numbers, art, marketing, and platform ops, would be involved, diving too deep now would just be counterproductive. Any questions? Lucas asked, scanning the room. Rachel and Anna shook their heads. They were mainly handling art and story design. And from what they saw in the concept draft, the story was basically just a side element, not much for them to do there. As for art, the concept art already laid out the direction. The cartoon style had more or less been locked in. All that was left was refining the details later on. Everyone else also shook their heads. No one had much to say. To be honest, they were a little surprised. Because even though it was just a concept draft, it already mapped out the whole game. All they had to do now was build it based on that plan. As for whether it would actually work, they'd have to wait until the demo was done to know for sure. At the end of the day, no matter how polished a concept looks, it's still just theory until it's tested. The dev team didn't seem to have any major issues, but on the operations side, Ethan had something to say. Ethan asked Boss Lucas, "Are we planning to launch this game during the Lunar New Year?" Lucas replied, more specifically, on Valentine's Day. Ethan continued, "In that case, I suggest we launch with a coupon promotion. Let players get a better deal if they buy it on the Nebula Games platform. At the same time, we can push the idea of it being a couple's game as a selling point. Based on market research, we'd be the first to do that, and the game itself really is designed around co-op gameplay. Something like feel the sweetness of love, play Overcooked. That could be our slogan." Unlike the dev team, Ethan wouldn't be directly involved in building the game. But as a seasoned professional, he'd started to get a read on Lucas by now. When it came to the game itself, Lucas wasn't open to debate, but when it came to marketing and operations, he welcomed input. Right now, the total development time for Overcooked was just a little over 2 months. In that kind of tight window, nailing the marketing strategy was critical, especially since Overcooked was meant to be an experimental title to promote the Nebula Games platform. They couldn't just quietly make it and toss it on the market. If they did that, the game would be completely drowned out during the massive Lunar New Year release season. So they needed to start locking down a promotion plan now. If we're going to offer a discount, let's just go all in and make it buy one get one free. Overcooked is already a game that's all about multiplayer cooperation. And when it comes to the slogan, don't just focus on romantic couples. Sure, we're launching it on Valentine's Day, but themes like brotherhood, sisterhood, and strong friendships can also be used as promotional angles, Lucas said with a nod. So, After finishing the presentation for Overcooked's concept and deciding on the marketing direction, the team started preparing for development. While the others dug deeper into the concept and polished the art, story, and other design elements, Lucas wasn't idle either. In the office, Lucas used memory capsules to sort through and record some great-level design ideas. The biggest challenge in developing Overcooked comes from the level design and the game's balance. If it's too easy, the game loses its flavor. Just like with Souls-like games, difficulty isn't the only core element, but it's definitely a defining one. If a Souls game turned into a hack and slash, then a lot of the game's original design wouldn't feel clever anymore. It'd just feel like extra baggage. Even though Overcooked is a small-scale game, it's the same deal. If the difficulty curve isn't right, the whole game loses its charm. Things like chopping, washing dishes, prepping ingredients, cooking, and putting out kitchen fires with extinguishers, these are all part of the gameplay, but even more important is how the numbers are balanced. If the time limits and score goals are too tight, players will feel like the game being unfair. But if those numbers are too generous, then the gameplay elements lose meaning. That's why Lucas had to really nail the difficulty. It's a casual game, so players should be able to finish levels without too much stress. But getting a full 3-star score should require solid teamwork between 2 players. And then there's the online system. Overcooked is actually Nebula Games' first online multiplayer game. The servers had to be rock solid. After all, Overcooked is being marketed as a co-op game with online play as a core feature. So, once the plan for the game was locked in, under Lucas's lead, the whole dev department ran smoothly and efficiently. On the art side, Lucas walked Rachel and the newer art staff through the direction for Overcooked. The whole game should use warm colors. Even the zombies in the background should look cute and goofy. This is an all-ages casual simulation game. We don't need it to be realistic or match the setting perfectly. What matters most is that players of any age won't find it off-putting. Got it, Rachel nodded. As an artist, she and Lucas had already worked together on 4 previous games. She totally understood what he wanted, but the new artist next to her looked completely lost. To her, this felt just like working on a production line. The style, the character sketches, the requirements, they were all laid out in detail. She could hand this off to an outsourcing team, and they'd be able to start producing assets right away. She had applied for a position as a game artist, so why did it feel like all she needed to do was quality control for outsourced work, no designing involved at all? Hector and the others were feeling the same. But thanks to their experience on Outlast, nobody was too surprised this time around. The general feeling was, this is way easier. Sure, they still had to work overtime sometimes, but at least there wasn't a bunch of wasted effort. Anytime something had to be redone, it was usually due to small details, not major design problems. It was almost too easy. Chapter 64, Promo Interview. Hector, you burned the rice again, and you're still chopping vegetables. What do you want me to do? You said you'd do the dishes, but there's not a single clean plate. What else am I supposed to do besides chop veggies? I swear you're driving me crazy. I was so mad. In the Nebula Games office, Zachary, who's in charge of level design, was talking to Hector, who handles the game's stats. This was the 4th time something like this had come up during testing after the game demo was released. Boss Lucas, is this game really meant for couples, to help build their relationship? Anna stared at Lucas with a strange look. Rachel didn't say anything, but she nodded like a woodpecker, clearly thinking the same thing as Anna. Ahem, it's not just for couples. Friends, brothers, anyone can play this game together, Lucas said seriously. It's really just that Hector and Zachary are both super competitive, Lucas added. Something about this feels off, Anna muttered while staring at the screen of Overcooked. At first, she thought this game was something everyone would love. But now, she wasn't so sure, especially after playing it herself. Beating the levels on easy wasn't too bad. But going for 3 stars, that raised her blood pressure fast. Sometimes she just couldn't take it. All right, Anna, you and Rachel keep an eye on the game trailer. I still have to do a media interview. Lucas saw the two still wanting to talk about Overcooked and quickly changed the topic. Media interview, Anna and Rachel were both a bit surprised. A GameSpace exclusive interview, part of the promo for the new game, Lucas said. After hearing that, the two of them nodded in understanding. After a few more words with Rachel and Anna, Lucas headed to the office. Even though the interview was meant to help promote Overcooked, there were actually quite a few media outlets interested in him personally. Sure, in the broader game dev world, he wasn't on the same level as the top designers and legends. But in the indie scene, Lucas was a pretty well-known name. "Mr. Lucas, nice to finally meet you." When Lucas opened the office door, GameSpace editor William greeted him excitedly. Ever since he randomly discovered Undertale and was blown away by it, he'd quietly kept an eye on Lucas, and Lucas's later games never let him down. To the Moon moved him so much he almost cried, and as for Outlast, he didn't personally enjoy horror games, but even he had to admit it was a top-tier horror game, the kind that could scare a grown man into peeing his pants. You could say he had long admired Lucas as a game designer. So once he found out there was a chance to do an interview, he immediately asked his editor-in-chief for the opportunity. "No need to call me Mr. Lucas, just use my name," Lucas said, feeling a little awkward about the title. Even though in his previous life, tons of talented newcomers had emerged, and Mr. Lucas, plus those legendary images on his hard drive, didn't mean much anymore. In the photography world, Mr. Lucas was still a founding figure. So being called that himself just didn't feel right to Lucas. William froze for a moment, not knowing what to do. In his mind, Mr. was just a sign of respect. It's normal in the game industry. Then, Boss Lucas, thanks for taking time out of your busy schedule to do this interview," he said, adjusting his wording. He didn't know why Lucas didn't like being called Mr., but he couldn't just call him by name either. "No need to be so stiff. Let's just chat casually first," Lucas said with a smile, as he handed William a bottle of cola from a nearby box and grabbed one for himself. Sure, okay." William looked at Lucas's smiling face and instinctively took the cola, placing it in front of him. "Let's start with Undertale. After all, Mirror isn't exactly easy to report on. The main reason I made Undertale was that I saw a gap in the market. Meta concepts had mostly shown up in books and films, so I started wondering, why couldn't this kind of idea work in games? Plus, in terms of immersion, games actually have an edge. To the Moon, I think countless players have already given their answers on that. As for Outlast, I really poured my heart into making it, and judging by the feedback, it seems the players felt that too. Players wanted it and the market lacked games like it, so we made it. That's why I say I see myself as a warrior of love. Every game we make is filled with the same passion for players, like a volcano about to erupt. The new game is the same. It's also filled with my love for players." A new game. When William heard that, his eyes lit up. Finally, a headline-worthy moment. Though he knew deep down, Nebula Games probably agreed to this interview mostly to promote their new game. Still, it was a solid scoop, at least something exclusive to publish. William asked hopefully, "Boss Lucas, could you give us a little teaser about the new game?" Of course, the new game is a co-op game suitable for all ages, and it's coming out on February 14th, Valentine's Day. We hope this game can help couples grow closer, and for those without a partner, it's just as fun to play with your good friends. Lucas smiled as he spoke, his tone completely sincere. He also showed 2 concept art images for the game, inspired by Overcooked. Adorable little crocodile chefs, the Onion King and Kevin the dog. In a busy kitchen, 2 chefs with chef hats were happily working together. Everyone was smiling. If you had to sum it up in 4 words, peaceful and full of love. Add another 4, warm and full of joy. At first glance, it gave off a very cozy and friendly vibe, definitely the kind of game you'd play with friends. So, the interview wasn't very long, just under 20 minutes. With a warm and friendly smile, Lucas personally walked William to the door and watched him enter the elevator. "Young people," Lucas sighed. Inside the elevator, holding a voice recorder and an unopened bottle of Coke, William slowly snapped back to reality. He replayed the whole interview in his mind. His head felt a little foggy. Wasn't he supposed to be the interviewer? Why did it feel like he'd turned into a note-taker? Looking at the recorder and Coke in his hands, William fell deep into thought. When did he lose control of the conversation? Probably around the time he accepted that Coke. But at least I got something out of it. Lucas's new game is juicy news. I need to start drafting the article fast. I'll title it Spreading the Love, and based on the concept art, this game gives off such a warm vibe. Looks like players with girlfriends are in for a great spring festival this year. Chapter 65, Player Discussions. The next day, GameSpace published an exclusive interview with Lucas. Spreading the Love, every game filled with my passion for players. That was the title of the entire article. If you clicked into the article, most of the content was from Lucas's earlier chat with William. Of course, some parts and topics were trimmed. Other parts were slightly polished. They leaned into the more positive side, like how the development team faced lots of challenges, even thought about giving up at times, but in the end pushed through and delivered a passionate, high-quality game to players. Honestly, if Lucas didn't know it was all fluff, even he might have been moved reading it. GameSpace, as one of the top gaming media outlets in the country, still had a lot of influence among players. At least in terms of traffic, that was true. Once the article went live, tons of player comments started pouring in. So that's where Lucas's Warrior of Love title came from. Why does it still feel like a load of sweet talk? Same here, I feel like that editor totally got played by Lucas. If we're talking about Undertale and To the Moon, then sure, he's totally earned the title. But Outlast though, LOL. I still think Lucas's explanation of Outlast was just him messing with us. The thing is, it actually sounded pretty convincing. Forget whether Lucas is just trolling or not, aren't you curious about the new game he mentioned? Yeah, he said it's called Overcooked. Is it some kind of cooking game? Who knows? You can't guess what a game about just from the name. I mean, look at Mirror. Did the name make you expect something that crazy? Say no more, I still think Mirror is the ultimate gentleman's game. Nothing has topped it yet. I've seen too much, it's starting to mess with me. Well, what can you do? Lucas just keeps doing better and better in game development. After the article came out, it did let more players know about Lucas, but it didn't cause much of a stir. Even though it mentioned Overcooked, there wasn't much info besides the title. And Lucas wasn't exactly a big name yet. He wasn't at the point where players would go nuts over every new thing he did. Plus, with the new year approaching, all kinds of games, big and small, were being promoted by different studios. In this kind of situation, outside of Lucas's hardcore fans, most casual players didn't really care about Overcooked. Lucas didn't mind that at all. Overcooked hadn't even been officially announced yet. In terms of cost, it was only about 1/3 the cost of Outlast. Of course, that's not counting server-related expenses, which weren't just for Overcooked, but also for the Nebula Games platform overall. So for Lucas, 2 months was enough time. With a clear and experienced view of Overcooked, Lucas already knew what its core strengths and weaknesses were. So development was moving really fast. Compared to the early version that only had 1 or 2 simple themes and was filled with free engine assets, the current version of Overcooked was much more complete. And unlike Outlast, this time Lucas even made a proper game trailer for Overcooked. He wasn't just relying on his own blog for promotion like before. After all, Overcooked was meant to be Nebula Games' first real push into the player market. It had a very different meaning for the company. So, as time passed and New Year's Eve approached, the country entered its yearly travel frenzy, Chunhyun. At Nebula Games, the team started their holiday break too. But some employees chose to stay. That's because Overcooked was set to launch on the 3rd day of the Lunar New Year, and it was tied to the Nebula Games platform and community features. So they needed people to stay behind in case something unexpected happened. Of course, Lucas wasn't stingy at all when it came to overtime pay. Meanwhile, on game forums and communities all over the internet, players were talking about what games they'd play over the holiday. Feels like there aren't any good new games coming out this new year. Yeah, nothing really exciting when I checked. Era of Gods by Skynova looks kind of decent. True, and NetDragon's big title Demon God sounds promising too. I mean, yeah, they sound good, but both are VR games, and the VR arcade in my small hometown is closed during the holidays. Aren't entertainment places usually open during the new year? Well, mine is. What am I supposed to do? This kind of VR game is only fun when you have time to really play it. There's not much time during the holidays. I'd better check if there are any good PC games. Looks like there are quite a few PC games being released too. Check out Lucas's official page. He released a new game, and it looks like a couple's game. I saw it feels so heartwarming, perfect for playing with your girlfriend. Did Lucas actually become a warrior of love this time? Overcooked, right, so it really is a cooking game, cooking with your girlfriend. A couple's game? Bro, I'm single, why are you even telling me this? Come on man, even single guys need dreams. And you don't have to play with your girlfriend, you can play with your bros too. Exactly, plus Nebula Games is doing a New Year's deal, buy one get one free. During the Spring Festival, game companies pulled out all the stops with their titles. The ones that grabbed the most attention were, of course, the two big games from Skynova and NetDragon. These two are giants in the local game industry and longtime rivals, competing in both platforms and games. Their big releases dropping during the holidays definitely drew a ton of eyes. But both companies went with major VR titles this year and didn't do much on the PC side. And in the PC game space, the trailer for Overcooked started spreading across major game media outlets and on Lucas's official page. Catching the attention of a lot of players, Chapter 66, Overcooked goes live. Lucas, who won first place in last year's Sci-Fi Adventure Game Jam and stirred up a horror wave with his game Outlast, was no longer just an indie name. And this time, Overcooked meant more than just another game for Nebula Games, it was also a test of the platform's direction. So when it came to promotion, Overcooked got even more resources than Outlast did. To market this game, Lucas even filmed several 90-second video ads. In the ads, a couple sits in their separate rooms, sunlight pouring into their bedrooms, each in front of a computer. On their screens is Overcooked. A short time apart won't break our rhythm or our bond. Chopping veggies, cooking, plating up, and then the screen shakes as the kitchen in the game splits in two. They're actually cooking on a hot air balloon. Working together in sync, the couple laugh and play through the game. Time passes, day turns into night. The background shows the man and woman in two separate places, but as the scene progresses, their spaces merge. In a flash, they're now living together in the same house. But the same thing remains. In front of them, the computer screens still show Overcooked. From then until now, our love hasn't changed. The guy gets up from his chair and opens a food delivery app on his phone. But the girl quickly snatches the phone away, grinning. She pulls out a chef's hat from who knows where and waves it in front of him. They open the fridge and head to the kitchen, one chopping, one cooking, from making food in the game to cooking together in real life. Enjoy the game, enjoy life, feel the joy of gaming with your special someone. As soft background music plays, the video fades out with the couple having a candlelit dinner. And finally, a line of text appears in the center of the screen. Overcooked goes live on February 14. Of course, this was just the couple's version of the trailer. There was also a bros version and a besties version. In total, they made 3 different versions. You could say they covered all kinds of groups. For players, this Overcooked trailer clearly got them really interested. The cute and colorful visuals, combined with the super wholesome trailer, had already stirred up a lot of excitement among players. Under the official post where Lucas shared the trailer, comments from fans quickly started flooding in. Whoa, the game designer I follow just came back from the dead. This trailer is amazing, but that couple's version really hit me hard as a single guy. This game is so cute and heartwarming. Is this Lucas making it up to us for scaring us half to death with Outlast? This is what a real warrior of love looks like. I'm definitely getting this to play with my girlfriend. Big thumbs up to you, Lucas. Looks like it's a cooking game, maybe co-op. Guess I'll be playing it with my bro instead. Hey, don't lose hope. Sometimes bros can turn into couples too. You okay, dude? What's wrong with that? Let me take a look, says Brother Jai. Hee, I'm planning to confess on Valentine's Day. She really likes games, so I'm gonna use this game to set the mood, cook in game, then show off my real cooking skills. I even hid the confession gift inside a cake I'll bake. Respect, man, hope your confession goes well. Yeah, this is the Lucas I know, not that creepy Outlast stuff. Sure, watching people get scared was kind of fun, but I'd rather play something full of love like this. It wasn't just the players talking, even other game designers who followed Lucas joined the conversation. Did you hear? Lucas's new game is actually a co-op game for couples. Well, maybe not just for couples, it's more about the timing and the way they promoted it around the holiday. Still, I'm not too confident in this kind of game. Co-op games really depend on the level design. If that part isn't good, the whole thing can fall apart. Lucas's past games were all story-driven. This might be his first try, right? No idea about the gameplay, but when it comes to the marketing, Lucas totally nailed it. Totally agree. Just watching that trailer gave me warm, fuzzy feelings. Makes me want to play it with my girlfriend. But I feel like getting this game to go viral won't be easy. For co-op games, it all comes down to how much buzz it gets. If Overcooked can build up hype like Outlast did, then it could sell really well. Also, looks like there aren't any similar games coming out during the Spring Festival. Lucas might have just gotten really lucky. Having no competition isn't always a good thing though. The gaming industry isn't a zero-sum game. As long as the market isn't flooded, it can actually help boost sales overall. Still, I don't think Overcooked can reach Outlast's level of success. It'll definitely make money. Looks like the development cost for Overcooked wasn't too high, so even if profits are smaller, it's still a win. But compared to Outlast, Overcooked has that cute, cartoony style. It's way more appealing to a wider group of players. By the way, did you guys see that Nebula Games is doing a buy one get one free deal? Totally makes sense. It's the Valentine's Day, gotta give players some kind of deal. And let's be real, what game developer doesn't want to grow a loyal user base on their own platform? Exactly, and since Overcooked is a co-op game, selling it solo might make some players hesitate. But with this buy one get one deal, it might push a lot of undecided people to go ahead and buy it. So, discussions about Lucas's new game were everywhere, among both players and people in the industry. Regular players were mostly curious about the game itself. People in the industry were more focused on analyzing the market side of things. The buy one get one free deal on the Nebula Games platform also became a topic of discussion among game designers. But just like Lucas expected, most people didn't make a big deal out of it. Because at the end of the day, every developer wants to build up their own platform. If you launch on someone else's platform, their cut isn't small. As for Overcooked itself, most designers had the same opinion. It'll probably make some money, but don't expect it to have a huge impact. Lucas wasn't affected by any of it. How well the game would actually perform could only be known after it launched. As the days went by, on February 14th, the third day of the Lunar New Year, Lucas posted a message on his official blog. Overcooked goes live today. It's a fun and wholesome multiplayer game. You and your fellow chefs must complete all kinds of delicious orders before your customers lose their patience. Get your knives and aprons ready. There's no room for mistakes in this crazy kitchen. Thanks to user D to the power of 18 for the 1500 tip. Chapter 67, First Impressions. Third day of the Lunar New Year in a gaming hobby group chat. Anyone got good game recommendations? Overcooked, it just dropped today. I've had my eye on it for a while. Buy one get one free on the Nebula Games platform. I'm looking for someone to play with. Any takers? I'll buy the game, you show up. Isn't that a couples game though? Who says couples? Games have to be played by couples. Two grown men can't play it together. True that. How much is it? Only $7, and it's buy one get one free on Lucas's Nebula Games platform. Where's Zach? Let's play together. The group was full of game lovers chatting about what to play next. That's when the guy known as Zach replied, I'd love to join you guys, but sorry, I have a girlfriend. Right after that, the group blew up with reaction emojis and all kinds of memes. Ignoring the chaos in the chat, Zach got up from the couch to stretch a bit, then sat down in front of his computer. As he watched the group chat talk about Overcooked, his curiosity grew. Sitting at his computer, Zach muttered, "Let's see, this game actually looks pretty fun. Wait, wasn't this made by the same guy who did Outlast? That's quite the switch from horror to wholesome." Looking at Overcooked's cute and colorful store page, Zach was surprised. A huge poster showed the game's name, Overcooked, spelled out using various food items. Below it was a big food truck. On top of the truck stood a bunch of cartoon characters wearing chef hats. A baby crocodile, a squirrel, a dog, and cartoon versions of a boy and a girl. Each character held a kitchen item: knives, rolling pins, frying pans, making them look extra adorable. Zach couldn't help but admire the cover art for Overcooked. With its cartoony art style, every character in the game looked super cute. "What game is that? It's so cute." His girlfriend Hannah had just walked out of the room and noticed what he was looking at. She asked with interest. She played games sometimes too, though not nearly as much as Zach or his gamer friends. Still, the game's art style on the screen really caught her eye. The adorable cartoon characters looked like something out of a fairy tale. The whole thing just felt so warm and charming. Overcooked is the new game from the same designer who made Outlast. He even released it on Valentine's Day, Zach explained. They had played Outlast together before. But like most casual players, they never really paid much attention to who made the games. It was only when he noticed Overcooked that Zach realized this Lucas guy had actually made a bunch of games, and he'd played most of them. This was made by the same guy who did Outlast. Hannah was just as surprised as Zach had been earlier. "Yeah, and he also made To the Moon and Undertale. Totally different vibes, right?" Zach chuckled. "He made To the Moon and Undertale too." Hannah was shocked. "Why don't we buy it and try it out? The game actually looks pretty fun," Hannah said. "Heh, that's exactly what I was thinking." Zach grinned, opened his browser, searched for the Nebula Games platform, downloaded it, and created 2 accounts. They added each other as friends, paid via QR code, and sent one copy of the game to the other account. Unlike some players, he didn't really care which platform it was on. As long as the game content isn't censored, he'd just go with whichever platform had the cheaper price. He'd also bought Outlast on the Nebula Games platform before. Now that they were running a buy one get one free deal, he had no reason not to use it again. Sure, this game could be played split screen on one PC. But since they lived together and both loved playing games, they had 2 PCs at home anyway. After downloading and logging in, the game was pretty small, so they both installed it quickly. Once they launched the game, the Nebula Games logo passed, and a line of text appeared on the black screen, based on real events. Only names, places, and vegetables have been changed. Then came a cutscene, thunder and lightning in the sky above a castle at night, with heavy rain pouring down. After a light snack break. "Finally, I've waited so long for this moment. We've overcome so many obstacles for that ultimate food prize. Watch closely, Kevin. This is the legendary Necronomicon." As the Onion King talked to himself, he began his research into forbidden cooking magic. Terrifying cooking spells brought a flood of zombie bread to life, and they started charging toward the castle. To fight them off, players had to cook enough food to satisfy the monsters. "Yep, the story clearly isn't the main point here," Zach commented. "The Onion King is the perfect example of you asked for it," Hannah added. They both laughed after trading jokes. After that short intro, the game moved into the tutorial level. It was really simple: WASD to move, space to interact, and control to chop. Just the usual key setup found in most games, and even though neither Hannah nor Zach were hardcore gamers, they'd played enough games to get the hang of it right away. They quickly picked up the controls. Basically, you cook, pick ingredients, chop them, sometimes cook them, plate the food, and serve it. Some dishes needed a mix of different ingredients. The win condition was simple too. In campaign mode, the highest score rating was 3 stars. For each dish served within the time limit, you'd earn tips. Once your earnings hit a certain target, you'd get your star rating. The rules were very easy to understand. Of course, if you beat all levels with a 3-star rating, you could unlock a hidden 4-star challenge, but that wasn't something most players could pull off. Got it, this is so easy. It's actually really fun. If only cooking in real life was this simple. Feels like it would be even more fun with more players. Let's clear the campaign first, then try some online matches. Zach and Hannah split the roles. One did the chopping, the other plated and served, and they breezed through the first tutorial level. When they saw they got a perfect 3-star score, they were both smiling with joy and satisfaction. Before playing, because of Outlast and that creepy zombie bread storyline earlier, they expected this to be kind of dark and weird. But after trying it out a bit, it was actually really fun. Especially when the two of them were cooking together and delivering dishes. It felt kind of like playing house as kids. That childhood nostalgia added a warm and fun vibe to the whole game experience. As the results screen came up, both Zach and Hannah were smiling happily. Chapter 68, Games Are Ruining Me. After a few simple tutorial levels, the game officially moved into story mode. Zach and Hannah played while chatting and laughing together. The early levels were super easy. Orders popped up in the top left. They cooked the dishes on time, then placed them at the window. Simple as that. The first 2 stages were really basic, just slicing some sashimi, or at most, cooking some rice. But once they reached stage 1-4, things clearly changed. This level was set in the middle of a busy street. Yeah, don't ask why they're cooking in the middle of the road. That's just the setting. A real chef should be able to cook anywhere in the world. If you're fully focused on the food, that's what makes a great chef. This level was different from the ones before. Most of the space was blocked by kitchen counters, and the walkable area was shaped like 2 rectangles placed side by side. The twist was, the vertical paths were now one-way conveyor belts that sped you along. And the customer orders weren't just easy stuff like slicing sashimi or cooking rice anymore. Now it was slicing, steaming, boiling, and stir-frying. Nothing was left out. If all they wanted was to pass the level, it wouldn't be that hard. Just fill up the 4 plates in the center and serve them. But clearly they weren't just aiming to clear it. They wanted a high score, 3 stars. And as the stage went on, the orders came in faster and faster. They couldn't even finish one dish before another showed up. Quick, start cooking the rice. Wait, why are you in such a rush? I haven't even chopped the cucumber yet. Where's the seaweed, and why haven't you cut the fish yet? Stop rushing me, the conveyor belt pushed me too far again. Hurry up and cook the rice, we're running out of time. Compared to the sweet and chill vibe from earlier, the rising number of orders quickly pushed things into chaos. At first, they were handling everything smoothly, but now they were clearly starting to lose control. And to make things worse, they each had their own plan. One wanted to cook rice first, the other wanted to prep ingredients first. And just like that, everything fell out of sync. Suddenly, they were both scrambling. Hey, why did you make so much seaweed? We need seaweed for sushi, don't we? You just put the seaweed straight on the plate. It doesn't need to be rushed. Cook the rice first. It's cooking. Stop yelling at me. Look at yourself. What are you even doing, just wandering around? Chop the veggies. I'm waiting for you to finish the rice. What's the point of chopping stuff if there's no rice to go with it? Wait, why is there fire now? Fire extinguisher. It's right next to the stove. Where the hell are you running off to? Hurry up and put it out. You see the extinguisher, pick it up and use it. The conveyor belt's pulling me along. I'll be there in a second, calm down. Plates, wash the plates already, we're out of clean ones. Now we gotta wash plates too. These customers are too picky. Can't they just deal with it and use a dirty one? What do you think this is, some street-side kitchen in India? You gonna serve food on dirty dishes and be okay with that? Cut the crap and wash the dishes. You're washing them way too slow, though. As the number of orders kept rising and the customers got more impatient, the whole situation just spiraled out of control. And when it all falls apart, it really falls apart. One by one, the orders in the top left corner of the screen started beeping and disappearing. The rice cooking on the stoves turned into flaming infernos. And in this game, if you don't put out the fire quickly with the extinguisher, it actually spreads. Eventually, the whole kitchen went up in flames, and time ran out. Their final score, just a 2-star rating. We were so close to 3 stars, Hannah looked disappointed. Close, we were off by half the score. That's not a little, that's a lot, Zach grumbled beside her. What else could we do? At the end, your fire extinguisher didn't even put the fire out. Hannah pouted at the screen. Hey, how is that my fault? You're the one who didn't notice the rice was about to catch fire, Zach said, clearly not happy about taking the blame. Hannah wasn't going to let that slide either. She clearly had her own argument ready. How is the rice catching fire my fault? You were taking forever to chop vegetables. I had to come help you, she huffed. How's that on me? You kept blocking the conveyor belt, and you even flung a dish off the side. Zach's voice was getting louder. I was rushing, okay, and when the kitchen caught fire the first time, weren't you the one who didn't notice? Why are you blaming me? When it first caught fire, you didn't even know where the sink was. Took you forever to wash a single dish. I had to help you. You yelling at me now? Hannah puffed out her cheeks. I'm not yelling, I'm just stating facts. Zach shot back, clearly getting worked up too. So what, you're saying I wash dishes too slowly? Hannah's eyes widened. Exactly, you're too slow with the dishes, Zach nodded. What's that supposed to mean? You think I'm too slow at washing dishes? Hannah clenched her fists. Yep, you're way too slow, Zach said proudly. Fine, since you're so annoyed about it, I won't wash any more dishes at home. They're all yours. Hearing her raise her voice, and remembering the whole argument, Zach started getting annoyed too. What the hell, why is she yelling? It's not like he was the only one dragging the score down. Without thinking, Zach shot up from his seat, face red, and yelled back, Fine, I'll do it. From now on, all the dishes at home are mine. I'll show you what real efficiency and real speed look like. The second he finished yelling, he froze. Wait, something didn't feel right. What did he just say? In the heat of the argument and stubborn pride, he might have just made a huge promise without realizing it. Well, since you insisted, Zach, Hannah said seriously, patting him on the shoulder, I'll leave all the dishes at home to you. Show me what true speed and efficiency really are. No, what I meant was, Zach's eyes went wide. Don't say anything. If you get it, you get it. If you don't, then explaining won't help. It's already decided. You were the one who begged for this, remember? Hannah pulled Zach's hand onto the mouse and keyboard, completely ignoring the dishwashing situation. Games are ruining my life. Looking at the cartoon characters on the screen in Overcooked, Zach felt completely defeated. What kind of game is this? Where's the warmth? Where's the friendship? How did things get so intense so fast? If it hadn't been for that sudden argument just now, and his pride getting in the way, there's no way he would have agreed to such a ridiculous deal. And the worst part, he was the one who insisted on signing it. Compared to Zach and Hannah, though, things were even more heated for other players. Reading this part made me want to play a co-op game with my girlfriend, but then I remembered I don't have one. Crying tilde chapter 69, Overcooked, Maury-like argument kitchen. At the same time on Shark TV. Even during the New Year holiday, plenty of streamers, big and small, were live streaming different games. In Eric's stream, he was showing the audience some thighs. Hey, you're the one who wanted to see the thighs, don't blame me. Bro, what did I do wrong this time? This kinda average. Boss, since it's the holidays, let's stream something new. Lucas's new game Overcooked just dropped, looks pretty fun. I saw that too, Overcooked actually looks like a lot of fun. Eric, who was busy watching some long white legs, finally noticed the chat messages. Come on, it's the holidays, just trying to show you guys something fun, build a little connection. Honestly, this kind of stuff isn't really my thing. Let me see a co-op game, huh? Perfect. I'll go see what Ashu is up to, maybe he's free. Eric opened the game platform and searched for Overcooked. After one glance, he remembered this was the game Lucas had made. He still remembered Lucas as a game designer. To the Moon had felt so heartwarming, while Outlast scared the hell out of him. It was a serious shift in tone. After getting the basics on the game, he clicked into another Shark TV channel run by another streamer. A lot of streamers knew each other, and they'd often play multiplayer games together. The other stream showed a guy in a black shirt, wearing a baseball cap and thick-rimmed glasses, with a small goatee. He was telling a story. Society's different now, back in the day. Schools were full of punks. What they do, shake you down, call you bro, pat your head and say, "Hey bro, lend us some cash. If you ever run into trouble at school, we've got your back. Got any money? Come on, take it out yourself. If I have to search you and find even a single coin, you're getting smacked. Your choice, hand it over or I take it." Ash, you sound way too familiar with this. You used to rob kids back in the day, didn't you? Ha 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 ha, let me tell you, if I'd really been robbing people, I wouldn't be so good at telling it. Victims and bullies see things totally differently. While Ash was telling his childhood story, Eric sent him a message, and viewers from both streams were lighting up the chat. "Wow, long time no see, Eric wants to play with me. Sure, let's hop into voice chat." The two of them joined the voice call. "Ash, how have you been lately?" "Great, just great." They exchanged some polite small talk for the show's sake. "Just the two of us playing. I think this game can handle up to 4 players, said Ashu. "Yeah, and I think it even has 2v2 mode. Should I see if we can get 2 more? Luke and Rock are both playing Overcooked too. Want me to ask them?" said Eric. "All right then, go ask them," Ash said. Soon, 2 more people joined the voice channel. With 4 of them now teaming up, their individual stream chats also started buzzing with excitement. After all, during regular streams, everyone usually just played their own games, and there wasn't much interaction like this. But since it was the Lunar New Year break, and they had a multiplayer game like Overcooked, it was the perfect time for something like this. "Are we jumping straight into PvP? We haven't even gotten used to the game yet," Ash asked. "No need for that, none of us are going to practice anyway," Eric suggested. "How are we splitting teams?" Luke asked over voice chat. "I'll team up with the Ash and you go with Rock. That should work," Ash said. After a bit of discussion, they quickly settled on teams. When entering PvP mode for the first time, there were tutorial tips to guide them. Creating a private room, choosing maps, and setting rules wasn't hard at all. They went with a default mode and jumped into the game. But to get a feel for the controls, they still tried the tutorial level first. Overcooked's tutorial level wasn't hard, actually, it was super simple. It walked players through things step by step, chopping ingredients, cooking rice, washing dishes, and dealing with stage hazards, each part separated clearly. So Eric and the others all had the same first impression. It was easy, simple. But once they entered the actual PvP mode, that feeling completely disappeared. Orders started popping up left and right, and the background music added this weird kind of pressure. It really felt like being stuck in a noisy kitchen, with a long line of customers waiting outside. And unlike the tutorial, the PvP mode threw everything at them all at once. Cooking, chopping, boiling, dishwashing, it was all mixed together. And the biggest catch, the 2 players on each team were separated, which meant they couldn't just coordinate easily on the same task. Things quickly fell apart. "Rock, hurry up and chop the meat, chop the meat." Luke, playing with a controller, yelled at Rock sitting beside him. "Stop rushing me, you threw the plates all over the place. And look, you didn't even wash this one. What's the point of me chopping meat? Can't you chop it from your side too?" Rock, who was using a keyboard, fired back with a burst of complaints. "What did you just say?" Luke shot Rock a sharp glare. Nothing, I'm plating it up. Rock shrank back in fear, suddenly remembering that even though they were talking through voice chat, his sister was sitting right there. He was already flustered, and now even more panicked from being yelled at. He grabbed the food and rushed it to the serving window. "Rock, wake up, that dish isn't even cooked yet. Why are you serving it? And that's not even our side's window, that's the other team," Luke shouted, stunned as she watched Rock send out the half-finished dish. Meanwhile, Eric and Ash weren't doing much better. "Eric, we're trying to sell this food. Can you stop throwing it on the floor? This isn't some random street kitchen." "Forget the food, Ash, hurry, the damn thing's on fire, you're still picking up food, put out the fire." "What? That fire came from their side, and you're the one who dropped that food." "Well, you were supposed to catch it." "How's that my fault? There's a counter and you still keep tossing stuff on the floor." And just like that, a small issue turned into a shouting match. They argued while cooking, which only made the chaos worse. With orders piling up, the whole kitchen was a complete disaster. The chat was cracking up as they watched the chaotic live stream. Haha, they went from super close to almost falling apart. They are now at each other's throats. This is hilarious. Is this game really supposed to bring people closer? Feels like they're about to start fighting. Isn't it supposed to bring people closer? Look at that guy, his face is turning red from holding it in. This is overcooked. This is the Fight in the Kitchen Simulator. Chapter 70, the ship of friendship can flip anytime. As the game went on, more and more comments filled the stream, but the players clearly didn't have time to read them. They were completely focused on the game. On one side, the Luke and Rock had more or less reached a truce. But no matter what, under Luke's lead, their team had finally started cooking like proper chefs. Meanwhile, Eric and Ash were still stuck in total chaos, arguing while frantically trying to cook in the game. What do we do? Think of something, we're gonna lose. Ash looked at their score, which had dropped to -140, while Rock and Luke's score had climbed from -140 to -70. He was starting to panic. Damn it, what can I do? We're behind and we can't exactly throw punches in real life. Just plate this dish and serve it already, Eric said while trying to throw the ingredients together. Plates, we need plates to serve. Only your side has the sink to wash them. Ash ran to the serving counter with food in hand, only to get a message saying the dish needed to be plated. Damn it, why is this game so picky? What, can't we just eat with our hands or something? Eric looked totally fed up. Come on Eric, don't mess around, wash the plates, Ash yelled. Wash what? What's there to wash? Isn't that just wasting time? Eric was getting mad. Then suddenly, a thought popped into his head. He threw the dirty plate aside and sent his in-game big-bearded chef straight into Luke and Rock's area. Without saying a word, he swiped a clean plate. Ash, catch the plate, he shouted, tossing it over. Then he looked up at the recipe orders, glanced at the dish their opponents had just finished, but hadn't served yet, sitting right on the outer counter, and without missing a beat, pulled a smooth move. Ash, catch the food. Holding the stolen dish, Eric dashed over to Ash. Eric, you're killing it. With those 2 stolen dishes served, their score shot up from -140 to 0. Meanwhile, Rock, still quietly chopping and washing, suddenly realized their hardened dish and plate were gone. Hey, they stole our dish and plate. Without hesitating, he threw a dirty plate toward Eric. Not that it helped much. This is outrageous, you 2 stole our food. Luke was totally dumbfounded. At first, when he started playing this game, he thought it would be a calm, cozy experience. But once he really got into it, he had to admit something: this game seriously messes with your blood pressure. Especially when your teammate doesn't think the way you do, it really gets to you. It's easy to lose your cool, even just a little. And now he realized, it's not just your teammates, even your opponents can stress you out in this game. They were shocked to see that even the food and plates on their own side could be stolen by their opponents, who could then serve them to customers and gain points for it. Their hard work was being taken away. Ash, you're good at this stuff, leave it to you. Eric, now being scolded for what he did, quickly called out to Ash. Come on, can you even call this stealing when it's just part of the game? And what does stealing even mean? It means doing it without anyone noticing, but Eric did this right in front of you. He borrowed it openly. And let me just say one more thing, Luke, Rock, you 2 listen up. Everyone watching the stream listen too. Streaming this game isn't just about showing gameplay. As streamers, what we present has depth. Ash suddenly dropped into a serious tone. When we stream a game, we're supposed to share some life lessons with the audience, things they can learn from. Nowadays, there are so many clickbait accounts constantly feeding people fake feel-good advice. What Eric did just now is actually meant to show you that the world isn't always fair. Even if you do the right thing, not everyone else will. You might be working in a company, doing all the hard work, but there will always be someone who, steals the credit. They slack off most of the time, but when the boss shows up, they swoop in, snatch up the job you nearly finished, and then what? Take all the glory. We're not saying people should do that. We're showing you that there are shady people like this in real life. You shouldn't try to hurt others, but you should protect yourself. So this is why we're sharing this, to keep people alert. That's what a real best livestream is about, teaching people something real about life. How many business owners who went bankrupt watched our streams and were inspired to start over? How many divorced couples made up after watching us? That's what live streaming should be. Don't you ever feel like the world is just full of darkness? That's because your spirit isn't strong enough. You have material stuff, but not enough spirit. So both body and mind need to be nurtured. And now someone might ask, Ash, how do we strengthen our spirit like yours? Easy, just get a membership and become a little sapling. Every afternoon to evening, join us in the stream for a true spiritual cleanse. After that speech, the whole stream went silent. Ash, you really missed your calling. You'd be amazing at running a pyramid scheme. Eric couldn't help but sigh. He even forgot that he had originally been brought on as a negative example. But clearly, the speech didn't manage to convince Luke and Rock. As Eric kept trying to snatch the plates, Rock ran over too, ready to make his move. In an instant, what used to be a kitchen for cooking turned into a battlefield. Ingredients and plates were flying everywhere, and no one was even watching the pots on the stove anymore. That tiny boat called Friendship, just like that, it capsized. So, it was Valentine's Day, and aside from the 2 new VR games from NetDragon and Skynova, there really weren't any other fun new games lately. And honestly, those 2 VR games only worked well for a few really skilled streamers. Most viewers just watch for the visuals or the plot, just to be part of the hype. So Overcooked started popping up on a lot of streamers' radar. In just one day, thanks to earlier promos and the reach of major streamers, Overcooked exploded across all the big streaming platforms. After all, it's a multiplayer game, and it dropped on Valentine's Day. It gave off a cozy, heartwarming vibe at first. Of course, that was just what they thought. Because once they called their friends to play and paired up in teams, that calm little boat of friendship got thrown into a storm right there in the kitchen. And flipped just like that. In countless live streams, best friends turned on each other in an instant. Chapter 71, great game, just not so great for friendships. Even though it was Valentine's Day, a lot of people still ended up spending it with their side wives, meaning their friends sitting beside them. With nothing better to do, you might randomly open the Shark TV Live streaming platform, click into a stream of someone playing Overcooked, and hear something like this. Hey, Sean, you burned the food again, hurry up and do something. What the hell, Mike, how is that my fault? If it's not your fault, is it mine? You burned it, look at the chat, see who they think is to blame. Damn it, you're so annoying, shut up, I have my own way of doing things. Fine, whatever, hey no, go wash the dishes, stop chopping veggies, Sean, your brain, not working today. Screw you, I think you are the one dragging me down, Mike, don't just talk, let's practice more. Ha, you think I'm scared? Fine, let's practice, don't cry when I crush you, let's split into 2 teams, alright? No problem, I'm gonna wipe the floor with you. As the game went on, the so-called boat of friendship suddenly capsized without warning. So, soon on Nebula Games, the official store, and a few third-party platforms, Overcooked's sales and reviews started to rise fast. Even though it was the spring festival break, the staff, people like Anna and Rachel, were all keeping a close eye on how Overcooked was doing. Boss Lucas, how's Overcooked doing in sales? Yeah, the players seem super into it. In the company group chat, Rachel and Anna tagged Lucas to ask about the game. In 8 hours, we've sold 15,000 copies. Over 11,000 of those were sold on our own platform, and the sales are still going up every hour. Lucas had a smile on his face too. 15,000 in 8 hours, not huge, but definitely not bad. Plus, party games like this behave very differently from normal games when it comes to sales trends. Take the promotion for Overcooked as an example. The campaign wasn't overwhelming, but there were trailers, media interviews, and a fair number of ads. For most games, no matter how good the quality is, the sales trend usually looks like a roller coaster. A peak at launch, then a slow decline, and maybe a second wave if word of mouth spreads. Or sometimes it just drops straight down if people do like it. But Overcooked was a little different, because Overcooked was more of a social party game. This kind of multiplayer game doesn't usually sell a lot at first. But once it becomes a hot topic, it can take off. Since every player has their own friend group, that word-of-mouth effect starts spreading through their circles. Once the game becomes a trending topic, it naturally drives more sales. This kind of pattern works the same in both this world and the one before. 11,000 copies that many people chose to buy from our platform. Anna was shocked in the group chat. Buy one, get one free after all, said Rachel. But still, I have to say, where's the peace and love we talked about? Why does it feel like a war once you actually start playing? Anna sent a sticker in the group chat, a cute little cat looking completely confused. Exactly, during the new year I played it with my cousin and wow, it was chaos, Rachel chimed in. Boss Lucas, this really doesn't feel like a couple's game at all, and I saw some comments saying players actually broke up because of it, Hector added. As Lucas leaned back on his couch and watched everyone chatting in the group, a small smile appeared on his face. On the game system's UI in front of him, the points were climbing fast, and this was only the beginning. Glancing at the chat, Lucas sent a message. Don't panic, and even if someone did break up over the game, it wouldn't just be because of the game itself. That just means their relationship was already falling apart. Their personalities just didn't fit together, Lucas replied in the group. In his past life, Overcooked had been known as the breakup kitchen, but even if some couples really did split up after playing it, it wasn't the game's fault. It was because the two people were never really right for each other to begin with. Of course, the game sometimes caused a few fights between best friends, bros, or couples. That kind of thing happened all the time. Once the game's rating system was unlocked, players who had bought it began to leave reviews. Most of them gave it a 9 or even a perfect 10 out of 10. Of course, there were quite a few who gave it a 1. But whether they gave high scores or low ones, the comments they left were all pretty funny. Overcooked, this is totally breakup kitchen. My girlfriend's gone, Lucas, I will curse you. This is the plastic love kitchen. I played it and became single again. Highly recommend buying this and saving it for when you want to break up with your girlfriend. After playing this game, my girlfriend kicked me out, and now I spent the whole night playing with my bros. What do you mean by friendship over? That's way too dramatic. We just had a fight, that's all. The game's great, just a bit rough on your friendships. I liked another girl but didn't know how to break up with my girlfriend. Problem solved. We played this and now I'm single. After playing, the household became more peaceful, cooking got easier, and I even got accepted as a firefighter. Only problem, the person I played with can't cook to save their life. I used to have a lot of friends, but after playing this game, I'm glad they're gone. Before we played, we were just casual friends. After we played, we were bonded for life or death. No doubt, some players did have real fights with their friends over the game. But most of the time, people were just joking around. And those jokes helped Overcooked go viral all over again. Especially with funny videos popping up and streamers arguing mid-game, all over the internet. This kind of viral humor was just like what happened with Outlast. Overcooked's popularity skyrocketed. And with that spike in popularity, the game's sales also shot up. Players who had heard of it before, and those who hadn't, started learning about Overcooked through all kinds of channels, and a lot of them got curious and interested. Among the player community, the game also got 2 extra names. Breakup Kitchen and Friendship Ender Kitchen. Chapter 72, Is Lucas a Love Guru? As more and more streamers and video creators started playing Overcooked, the game began reaching a wider audience. More players were getting into it, and the game became a hot topic on forums and community boards. Break up and friendship over became the game's signature phrases. Especially as the game's popularity soared, forums, message boards, and Q&A platforms were flooded with made-up stories. Stories like, my girlfriend and I were so in love, but after playing Overcooked, we broke up and stopped talking. Of course, a few of those stories were real, but in most of the cases where couples broke up because of Overcooked, the game was really just the spark that lit the fuse. Their relationship was already like a pile of gunpowder, just waiting for one tiny spark to explode. Still, that didn't stop the Overcooked memes from spreading. After Valentine's Day, the game's popularity started climbing at a crazy rate. Every major community was filled with people joking around about it. And in live streams, every time streamers or video creators got into heated arguments over in-game stuff, the chat would instantly flood with comments like break up or go solo. After all, people love drama, that's just human nature. But while the players were busy making memes and experiencing what breakup kitchen really means, one trending topic on the official account shot to the top of the PC games category. How do you feel about the so-called warrior of love, game designer Lucas choosing to release Overcooked on Valentine's Day, along with a sweet and heartwarming trailer? The comments under that post were full of reactions from players. Don't even mention the warrior of love to me. I really thought Lucas made a cute and loving game. My girlfriend and I broke up because of Overcooked. Lucas, give me my girlfriend back. Bro, what happened? Did you break your hand or something? Yeah man, don't give up on treatment just yet. Medicine's pretty advanced nowadays. You might still be able to get your girlfriend reattached. It's alright man, you had 2 girlfriends anyway. Losing one isn't a big deal. Hey, now you guys are just being mean. The poster's clearly suffering. Ahem, friendly tip, click on the poster's profile. You might find a surprise. Wait, what? The last post says you broke up with your boyfriend. So are you a guy or a girl? Bro, your thinking is too small. Can't a guy have a boyfriend too? Add me as a friend. I've got something real nice to show you. Don't go off topic. Anyway, I'm convinced Lucas did this on purpose. He already showed his true colors with Outlast. Not just Outlast, think about all the other games Lucas made, really think about them. Exactly, Lucas isn't a warrior of love at all. Just look at the games he's made so far, they're like knives straight to the heart. Right to the Moon might have looked heartwarming, but in the end, Johnny only got fake memories. It was a tragedy. Even Undertale had a genocide ending. And Mirror, Kill the Bull-Headed Man, pure love, God of War never backs down. Exactly, the game division really needs to do something. Lucas's games are dangerous. Outlast just tried to scare us to death, but Overcooked. That one wants to make us fight in real life. Just under this trending topic, there were already more than 20,000 comments in just one day. Of course, there were some different opinions too. Many players said Overcooked wasn't that bad. When they played with friends or partners, they had fun working together, sabotaging each other, and laughing along the way. But those comments were clearly in the minority. The main response was still, no one believes Lucas is some kind of warrior of love anymore. So, Nebula Games. Now that the New Year break was over, employees from each department were gradually returning to work. At this moment, Rachel and Anna were sitting in the company lounge, grinning as they looked at Lucas. Boss Lucas, your scheme has been exposed. Anna showed the trending topic to Lucas. She's right, Rachel agreed. When they were developing Overcooked, even while filming its trailer, the two of them genuinely thought it was a sweet and heartwarming game that brought people closer. When a few signs popped up during development, they just thought it was coincidence. But once the game launched, phrases like breakup kitchen and friendship ender kitchen, plus that trending topic, made everything clear. Beneath Overcooked's warm and friendly surface was pure chaos and malice. The world's getting worse and people are losing their morals. You two are developers, how can you think like that? Lucas looked at them, acting all serious. Why are so many players breaking up? Because their relationships already had problems. Why do they break up? Because they can't communicate during the game. They can't agree on anything. When the time is running out and someone messes up, they blame each other and make things worse. When one person is too slow or out of sync, the other gets annoyed and loses patience. So the true purpose of Overcooked is to teach couples and friends how to truly get along. It's a way to preserve real friendship and love through communication, understanding, and patience. If those three things are missing, then of course their relationships will fall apart. As Lucas finished speaking, Anna and Rachel went quiet. After a while, Anna looked at Lucas with a weird expression. Are you actually some kind of love expert? Why do you always have these long, convincing speeches ready to go? Rachel looked just as speechless. This scene felt oddly familiar. Back when Outlast launched, hadn't he said something similar? Was this some kind of running gag? If it weren't for what happened with Outlast, they might have believed him. If you think it makes sense, then that just proves it's true. I'm a producer who truly cares about the players, Lucas said with a big smile. The two of them didn't even flinch. Somehow, it really felt like Lucas was just full of nonsense. Wait, no, Mori, like he's trying to fool the players. When they saw Lucas pull out his phone, polish up his speech a bit, and post it on the official account, they glanced at each other. Both of them could read the look in each other's eyes. We need to be careful. Boss Lucas's bullshitting skills are no joke. Chapter 73, Direction of Development. Right after Lucas's post went up on the official account, it instantly triggered waves of complaints from players and got reposted across all the major gaming communities. Under the comments on Lucas's post alone, players gathered in huge numbers. These players are all basically saying the same thing. You think we're stupid enough to fall for that? Communication, understanding, patience. Sounds reasonable on the surface, but it still feels like they're being tricked. Some players believed Lucas's explanation, and some didn't. But one thing didn't change. Overcooked, a game that looks super cute and heartwarming, went viral across major streaming platforms, video sites, and gaming communities right after Valentine's Day. For a while, everyone was talking about this special co-op game. Even the sales numbers for Overcooked kept climbing. A week after its release, it officially sold over 450,000 copies. Compared to games like Undertale, To the Moon, or even Outlast, which the industry didn't really expect much from, 450,000 might not seem that impressive. But here what stands out: 340,000 of those copies came from the Nebula Games platform. In other words, they gave away 340,000 copies. And more importantly, compared to Outlast and To the Moon, Overcooked, just like they planned, brought a lot of users to Nebula Games. Even if, to be honest, those users don't seem all that loyal right now. Still, users are users. At the very least, they now have the Nebula Games platform installed on their computers, and they've signed up for a Nebula Games account. That's something Outlast never managed to do. And when it comes to playtime, Overcooked beats Outlast by a long shot. After all, not many people are brave enough to play horror games. Most players who buy something like Outlast just watch a few clips and call it a day. But Overcooked is different. Playing with close friends makes it way more fun. With Overcooked's success, Nebula Games and Lucas started getting noticed by more people. Before this, even though Undertale had sparked a wave of metagame hype in the indie scene, and Lucas had won first place in the sci-fi game contest with To the Moon, these things, while impressive, didn't really matter that much to most companies in the industry. But back-to-back releases like Outlast and Overcooked, both catching fire, that's a whole different story. So, Nebula Games' office. Lucas leaned back on the couch, grinning at his point balance. No doubt about it, Overcooked really delivered. His points were going up so fast, it wasn't even slower than Outlast, and that one had used power-ups. In just 1 week, he had enough for a 20 roll. Staring at the points on the UI, he thought for a moment, and decided not to roll yet. Those dozens of failed rolls before had scared him off. Nothing but blue skies and white clouds. Better to save up. If he rolls enough, something good will show up eventually. As for his next game, he hadn't really decided what to make yet. His current abilities were good enough for now. When the time comes, he can roll again, no rush. It's not like the points are going to fly away. Besides, new year, new plans. The company already expanded once during National Day last year. Staffing is still a bit tight. Next, they need to bring in some people for game operations. Unlike Undertale, To the Moon, or Outlast, Overcooked is more of an online multiplayer game. Plus, there will be things like the Creative Workshop feature and future version updates. So they need someone to handle the game's operations. The platform also needs operators. In the future, he definitely plans to develop real multiplayer games, which makes the operations team even more important. After all, he wants to build an operations team that shares Nebula Games' vision. For a game, operations are absolutely critical, especially for multiplayer games. Sometimes, the way a game is run matters even more than its quality. Next is the development team. They also need to grow a bit. Music, animation, art. The office already told him earlier that they were struggling to keep up, so now they need to bring in more people. They're planning to hire around 15 more staff. As for office space, that needs to expand too. It's getting a bit cramped. Conveniently, the whole floor above their current office seems to be empty. They'll reach out to try and lease it. Once the plan was set, Lucas called the office team over and had them start the recruitment process. It's not realistic to expect to fill all the positions right away, but Lucas isn't in a rush. 2 or 3 months should be enough. But during this time, aside from recruitment, Lucas got a surprising call from Marcus at NetDragon, someone he had only briefly met before. It was clear the call wasn't just a friendly check-in. He was calling on behalf of NetDragon to say they were interested in acquiring Nebula Games. After all, the company had seen several back-to-back hits. None of them were massive productions, but all of them were clear successes. Especially the recent success of Outlast and Overcooked, which stirred up a lot of attention. As one of the major players in the industry, NetDragon had definitely taken notice of Nebula Games. And the day after NetDragon expressed interest in buying the company, another giant, Skynova, somehow got Lucas contact info and also said they wanted to talk. Right now in the gaming world, these two companies are direct competitors. To put it simply, whatever Skynova wants to do, NetDragon wants a piece of it. And vice versa. As for Lucas, the one both companies are chasing after, he didn't overthink it. He definitely wasn't going to sell. But it was a good chance to see what both companies really thought of Nebula Games. Still, no matter what, we've got to pick up the pace with development. Lucas hung up the phone, resting his chin in his hand, deep in thought. To be honest, Nebula Games doesn't have that much big money right now. But if they just keep moving forward at this steady pace, they're not lacking anything either. So far, games like Mirror, Undertale, To the Moon, Outlast, and Overcooked have reached a combined total of over 10 million units sold. And those numbers are still going up. Among these games, some had higher development costs, others were cheaper. But in the end, all of them made a profit. Even after covering staff salaries, bonuses, rent, and other expenses. Nebula Games still has close to $25 million in liquid assets in their company account. On the VR platform, making a large-scale game typically costs between $50 million and $150 million. That's just the average. Top-tier titles can go even higher. On PC, big titles usually cost between $10 million and $40 million. So yeah, they could afford to make one, but for Lucas, that's still a bit of a risk. After all, it's all development costs. Marketing isn't included in that. You can't seriously expect to make a big game and then not even promote it, right? Besides, they're already short on staff, so expanding the team is a must. And if they're planning to make an AAA-level game next, even if it's just for PC, then of course they'll need to use it to bring attention to their own platform. So how can the Nebula Games platform get noticed by most players and attract new users as fast as possible? The best way is exclusive games. It's a common strategy, but it works. But going the exclusive route will definitely hurt sales. Lucas originally planned to focus on small to mid-sized games, playing it safe. Slowly grow the Nebula Games platform and build up its game library. But now, he has to start thinking a bit more seriously about the next steps. Thanks for watching. Please subscribe and like the video and comment down if anything wrong in the story.